having a plan is always important. And for someone who works in marketing and has worked in marketing companies, one continuous thing that I have seen companies commit time and time and time again is that they don't have a marketing plan. And having a marketing plan is incredibly important because it sets the direction of what your company and marketing for your company is going to do. It's like, it's setting sail on a ship. You can set sail on a ship, but if you don't know where you're going to go and what your destination is going to be, then you're just going to end up drifting aimlessly in the water, unable to actually chart a course or even a pattern. And I can tell you now firsthand, it's unbelievable. From I've worked for small companies, small business firms. I understand that they're still building up, and they don't have those people in place. And then you get to the middle-sized companies where they understand, they know what a marketing plan is, but when you ask to see one, they haven't got one in place. And then you even get bigger companies that do have a marketing plan, but it's almost never shown to the other departments, and even the CEOs don't even know what the marketing plan is. And trust me, that's not that's not common. It's very uncommon for that to happen. So one of the big things that you see the Tories doing and continuously trying to do, and even the big move of a lot of people still seem to think that the Tories have some sort of grand plan, when unequivocally Boris doesn't have a plan. Boris, even throughout his entire career, can be charted by flying by the seat of his pants. Even Dominic Cummings, the guy with the plan, or well, we suspect with the plan, never actually said what his plan is. I mean, this guy believes that there's going to be a fourth industrial revolution based around the internet, and that it's going to require countries being at the forefront of tech and whatnot. That's why one of the things that you saw in the trade bill was for fintech firms, of which, by the way, apparently, I'm not sure how true it is, but apparently only 4 companies in the UK actually benefit from that. So, fantastic news, I suppose for them, but, means nothing to everyone else. So, this comes from The Guardian, and I think this is spot on with this. So, the Tories' biggest trick, convincing the world they had a cunning plan. Completely 100% agree here. So, another dignified week for Boris Johnson's administration, which has now wished to override its own Brexit deal by claiming not to have understood what it was signing when it signed it. Traditionally, this excuse is used by people who've just been subjected to 72 hours of police beatings, or by the harmless local weirdo who's been tricked into confessing to a highly complex sex murder, or by the children of a 96-year-old puritanical tycoons who've left the entire family estate to a teenage stripper. It's now being used by the British government's alleged mastermind Dominic Cummings, and by its sheepdog mascot Johnson, who no longer looks housebroken. Meanwhile, the same government would like you to believe that it would be nonchalantly capable of pulling off the most sophisticated testing program on the entire planet. This is the so-called Operation Moonshot, with which we would see Matt Hancock, literally Matt Hancock, preside over a hyperinflational system of carrying out 10 million coronavirus tests a day using technology that hasn't even been invented. Leaked Whitehall papers estimate this at a cost of over 100 billion. This week, Hancock announced he'd already spent 500 million on the plan, leaving just 99.5 billion pounds left. short of a moonshot, which feels less of a space rocket and more a reminder not to approach the framework when it doesn't go off. For some people, it will always be too soon to call this one. But we are near the point at which we can conclude that Dominic Cummings is the Samantha Brick of statescraft. If you ever were too familiar with Samantha, a few years ago, this previous obscure journalist torched the internet with a Daily Mail article so provocative and ludicrous that it would ultimately land her on a slot of Celebrity Big Brother. As the headline put it, are there downsides to looking this pretty? Why women hate me for being beautiful. The accompanying picture of a perfectly ordinary 41-year-old woman marks Samantha out as something of a Florence Foster Jenkins type, convinced of a truly exceptional gifts were merely the lack of them to lay. And so with Cummings' record in government. He seems to suffer from a sense of inverse dysphoria. Instead of looking in the mirror and seeing the reality of the latest clusterfuck staring back, he sees a Steve Jobs or a Warren Buffett or a guy who resembles that of a label that is meant to go on the inside of his pants. As recently as January, Cummings was claiming that there are trillions of dollar bills lying on the street if you just knew how to run a government properly. Has he found one yet? I bet you $1 trillion he never does. Oh. This week he was trillying about again, writing to the Department of Culture to inform them that the government wants to build $1 trillion tech companies in the UK, and I want a COVID tester closer than 300 miles away. But we're all having to make our peace with stuff, aren't we? It's not clear whether people like Cummings have best friends. One instinct is not, but if they did, it would be very much the duty of that individual to look Dom in the eye and say, mate, with the best will in the world, what on earth about the last 6 months makes you think that we can build the next Apple? Instead, the government is surrounded by enablers of this delusion, from imbecile Tory MPs to panting journalists who still reckon it's all some kind of brilliant game of 4D chess, underpinned by a winning strategy as yet invisible to the plebeian eye. No matter how much of a 360-degree 360-degree terror show the government's handling of the pandemic or its own Brexit process has been, there are even people now claiming that every single cock-up or exploding gambit was a genius tactic by our wiser and betters, brilliantly designed to achieve a very specific aim. I guess these cheerleaders analysts never feel too clever. Or to put it another way, every Rorschach blot looks the same if it's what you're after. Even when an individual or as someone as artless as Brandon Lewis stands up in the Commons and explains that the government isn't going to break international law, so you weren't going to find someone struggling so far must defined, going, so clever, just wait and see. We'll stick the kettle on it, and it can't help being feeling that Brandon is somewhat of a miscast Lex Luthor. So by far, this move has sparked a showdown with many of the government's most loyal supporters, the people they're supposed to be negotiating with, the America that they want a trade deal off. Several ambassadors, the grandees of the House of Lords, who indeed need to pass the law-breaking bill, the people, the politicians and businesses of Northern Ireland, the chairs of multiple constituency parties, 2 separate factions in their own parliamentary party, who were to hear to, causing them no trouble, and many others. The line that always gets wheeled out, no matter the master strategist, is the one famous for the 19th century Austrian diplomat, Klaus von Mittenschuss, I think that's how you say it, who was attributed commenting learning of the death of the great French sparring partner, Charles de Millet Talliard. It was, I wonder what he meant by that. Let's see in action with our own overlords. Ooh, I'm a single mother in Bristol who needs a coronavirus test for my high temperature child, and I've just been offered one in Dundee. I wonder what they meant by that. Ooh, They've had 5 months warning that students would be sitting their exams, but they still completely ballsed it up by making a generation of imminent voters loathe them even more than they were already going to. And I wonder what they meant by that. And so on and so on. All the way to, despite having miles more warning than anyone else, the government not only tanked the economy worse than anyone else, but also notched up the highest death toll in Europe. I wonder what they meant by that. So there's such a fine line, it isn't even there, between statescraft and the absolute state of it craft. Still, no doubt, all will become triumphantly clear in the fullness and meaningful of time. And do admire the Emperor's new tracksuit, by the way. Yeah, I can't really disagree, but this is what has been always Cummings' grand plan. He wants to build like the next Apple in the UK, but what infrastructure do we really have? We have no Silicon Valley area type, stuff in the UK, even though that's what Cummings is trying to lobby the government to. And I can guarantee you, next January, there will be some type of deregulation or regulations passed, or even, government handouts to try and get the next, quote, UK Apple going. It won't work. We aren't, there is no, as far as we are aware, there is no Bill Gates sitting, or future Bill Gates or Steve Jobs sitting here in the UK. Now, yes, there are people who can do that type of stuff, but they're far more better going to places like Estonia or even Lithuania, where the government will actively support you in setting up a digital business. And lots of people have. Europe is a far better place. It's a larger market to launch your product into than just the UK by itself. Because here's the thing that's not a lot of people have worried about. Us being in the UK, we were very protected from buyouts, because what used to happen was, and what does happen is most American companies, if they see a competitor, they will just buy them out, take the product, and then change everyone in. So it's still the same product, but it turns out worse half the time. They just want to get rid of a competitor. And that's what could potentially happen to us. This is why I was warning a couple of weeks ago about ARM, that was it, the microchip processor company over here that has a very long British legacy of being here. And NVIDIA, when it buys it, will just go, and that's that, gone. But, what do I know? We only, talk about what experts are saying in the news all the time, or, what's going unreported most of the time in the news. But, here we go. So, thanks for watching. Please do hit that share and the subscribe button as well. We do talk about British politics, and of course, we can't talk about British politics without Brexit. And trust me, it's going to be, we're still going to be talking about Brexit for some significant time on this channel. Also, if you would like to support the channel in different ways as well, there are links down below to my Patreon page, as well as a one-off donation link, should you like to support the channel that way. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.